Welcome back to my classroom. It's a beautiful day, even though it's a little dark. I'm Matt Dominguez with another Teacher to Teacher tip. This one's on how I teach Allegory of the Cave. And what I do is I start my class in the dark. So the kids are walking in and I try to make it like absolute pitch dark. I don't even have a candle on or anything. And you'll see they'll put their cell phones on and stuff like that. But it's a great moment for them to walk into darkness. And I start with the darkness, and the point is, by the end of class, to help us understand that we want to get out of darkness into light. There's something super powerful about the kinesthetic experience of turning your classroom into a cave. And what I have found over these years, that for many students, it's one of their favorite lessons because I make it really kinesthetic. And so we act out Allegory of the Cave. The students have already read it. We act it out. And so I start in the darkness and I tell them I'm going to mix the metaphors. We're going to mix the educational metaphor, which is Plato's original intent, the idealistic metaphor, which is where Buddhism and Hinduism pulls from Plato, talking about, oh my goodness, we really live in shadow and darkness, and the spiritual realm is really, really real. But I also tell them I'm going to add in the Neoplatonic Christian application to this, and I intentionally mix them all throughout the class. It's shifting a lot of hats. I tell them to pay attention, but it ends up working really well. So feel free to do that, and it might take a year or two to get it figured out, or even just practice it with some friends ahead of time, but it's worth the time and energy to nail this lesson. We act it out, and so I'll have it dark in my class. I literally have an old overhead projector in the back of the room, and I turn that on and it gets bright. I have them all pretend that their arms and legs are chained to their chairs and they're facing the screen. And I'll put I have a little Yoda figure and a Lego figure and a little plastic tree, and I'll put that across the screen. And then we have the weird moment of realizing that we pay $10 on the weekend to sit in a dark room in chairs and watch images go across screen. Freaky Plato moment. But we do that in class, and we act it out, and they're like, okay, I get it. And then I'll have one student stand up and realize that if everything's a shadow, so are the chains. And we start click, 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 heading towards the Neoplatonic, the Christian application here, which is super powerful. And I'll have that student come with me outside the classroom door. It's awesome when it's a bright, sunny day. And we'll go outside and we'll adjust, and it hurts, and I'll make sure that there's a tree around and hopefully a person, or I'll try to find plastic things that represent what's outside the room that are real. And we'll go out there and we'll talk about the fact, imagine having lived in my classroom your entire life, and now you're out here. Where would you prefer to live? And so we talked that through with this student. The student's like, oh my goodness. Right, there's this wonderful epiphany moment. And I'm like, why would you even go back inside the land of shadows? And the student catches it. The only reason to go back would be to help people get out. And so I have them come back in and they try to explain, there's green leaves on a big brown tree, and it's real, and that tree on the screen's a shadow, and you get the whole translation and the language, and it click, click, click. And then the climax of the class is when, in the dark classroom, we're sitting there and we explain how a Buddhist will literally try and tell students that they are shadows, they are imperfect, that's why they live in this dark world called Earth. The perfect being is outside, the perfect state of existence is outside of the classroom. You need to make yourself perfect in order to get out there. Although the reason why you're here is because you're not. And we talk about the 12-fold path, the Hindu, the eightfold path, and then the Hindu cycle of reincarnation, of trying to get out and trying to make yourself pure, make yourself perfect, to clean everything off to get out. And it clicks for them. If you're not perfect and you have to do it yourself, you can't do it perfectly, because the only way you get out is you have to be perfect to perfectly clean yourself. Powerful moment in the dark cave. So then we shift hats and we talk about, well, what if some guy is born into this dark cave and he says these crazy things like, hey, I'm not of this world. I'm the light of this dark world. If you follow me, I will help you get out. Actually, it is my gift to you that I died for you. I love you, and I want to help you get out of this world of darkness so you can dwell with me, not as me, dwell with me outside of this cave. And I will do that to you as a gift. And so I'll just tell the students, hey, your chains are gone, you've been set free. They pick up their hands, like, if anyone wants to come, you can come right now. And like all of this is in the notes, but it's super important to catch this powerful moment that they are all invited out. But the key here is I don't force any students to come out. It's an invitation. And that helps set up a lesson later where no one's being sent into this darkness. They're born into it, and they can choose to stay in it. But they're all invited out. And how hard is it? You believe the teacher, and you stand up and walk out. That's pretty powerful when we've just come off of Faith Island and building our trust list. And I'll say stuff like, if you trust me and choose to follow me, you can come right out of this cave. And when we go outside, inevitably a student or two will stay. And it's a powerful moment. And you can kind of look at the notes for the rest of how that unfolds. One little teacher tip that I think is super profound that I kind of end class with is we all come back in and we process it all. So there's this great moment where I'll look over my shoulder and on the screen is a shadow. And I'll say something like this. Everybody look at that tree. That's a tree, right? And they're like, no, it's a shadow of a tree. And I'm like, actually, it's the shadow of a plastic tree. In this shadowy dark world, Satan can't create anything. All of the sin, all of this stuff in this world is warped good. The good tree is out there. Every good and perfect gift comes down from the Father of lights. We talk about all the goodness is from God. All Satan can do is make plastic, shadowy replicas, and we fall for it. We'll choose lust, a shadowy plastic replica, over purity and dignity. We'll choose lying, cheating, and gossip over healthy truth and powerful, intimate relationships. Like the good stuff's available, and we settle for the shadowy plastic stuff that Satan offers us. I don't teach that lesson. I just we're going to talk about that later, but it's a great setup to kind of give them something to end on. One of the things that's available is a slideshow where I put on some beautiful music, and we sit there in the dark cave and we look at these scripture verses that talk about, the light and the darkness all throughout Old Testament and into the New Testament that set up this powerful overlay of the biblical truth that Plato is pointing us to. Further up, way further up, let's get out of the cave, further up and further in.